What if the most trusted guardians of national security, scientists sworn to protect us from the horrors of nuclear war, turned into something out of a nightmare? Imagine grieving parents already shattered by the loss of their newborn, discovering years later that their child's tiny body wasn't laid to rest intact, but dissected, bones harvested, and shipped across oceans in the name of science. This isn't a horror film script. It's the chilling reality of Project Sunshine, a covert U.S. government operation in the 1950s that snatched body parts from over 1,500 deceased children worldwide, all without a whisper of consent. And the files? They're public now, declassified and dripping with the cold calculations of an era obsessed with atomic power. Buckle up as we peel back the layers of this macabre tale, where the fallout from bombs wasn't just in the air, it was in the bones of the innocent. The atomic shadow, setting the stage for a global hunt. The 1950s were a time of explosive paranoia. The Cold War was heating up and the U.S. had just unleashed the fury of hydrogen bombs in the Pacific, like the infamous Castle Bravo test in 1954, which spewed radioactive fallout farther than anyone predicted. Declassified report from Operation Castle, showing the massive fallout from nuclear tests that sparked Project Sunshine. Scientists knew strontium-90, a deadly isotope mimicking calcium, was raining down on the planet, lodging in bones and potentially causing cancers and deformities. But how much, and who was most at risk? Enter Project Sunshine, launched in 1953 by the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission, AEC, and the Air Force's Project RAND. Its mission: track the invisible poison spreading through the food chain, from contaminated milk to human tissues. Young children and babies were the perfect subjects. Their growing bones absorbed CR90 like sponges, making them unwitting barometers of global contamination. What started as a defensive study quickly morphed into an international web of deception, with the U.S. at its center. The Body Snatchers. How the operation unfolded. At the helm was Willard Libby, a Nobel Prize-winning chemist turned AEC commissioner, whose lab coat hid a ruthless determination. Willard Libby in his lab, the man who orchestrated the body-snatching campaign. Small, in a secret 1955 meeting, Libby laid it bare. Human samples are of prime importance, and if anybody knows how to do a good job of body snatching, they will really be serving their country. Legal hurdles. They hired an expensive law firm to navigate them, but when that failed, they turned to shadowy networks of doctors, hospitals, and even coroners. Bodies of stillborns, infants, and young children were targeted. Easy prey because grieving families were often too distraught to question autopsies or missing limbs. The methods were straight out of a thriller. Bones were ashed in labs to measure CR90 levels, with samples coded like Baby B10102, an 8-month-old boy, or Baby B595, a 13-month-old girl. In Britain designated Area 5, scientists at Harwell collected around 6,000 bodies from 1955 to 1970, nearly half newborns, shipping them to U.S. labs without a single permission slip. 11 Australia contributed too, with reports of 6,000 dead babies snatched and sent overseas. Even Hong Kong's hospitals funneled children's remains into the program. The U.S. sourced from Houston, Vancouver, Puerto Rico, and beyond using military channels in places like Germany and Formosa, now Taiwan. All told, over 1,500 cadavers were harvested globally, but only about 500 analyzed. The rest? Who knows? Picture this. In 1957, British mother Jean Pritchard loses her stillborn daughter. Hospital doctors remove the baby's legs without a word, then forbid Pritchard from dressing the body for the funeral, insisting on a closed casket to hide the mutilation. They told me it was for tests, she later recalled, but the truth? Those tiny limbs were bound for atomic labs to gauge fallout. Or consider the stillborns from Central Middlesex Hospital, their bones burned at Cambridge University for CR90 readings. These weren't isolated incidents. They were systematic, with doctors acting as unwitting or willing accomplices in a global grave-robbing ring. And the science? It revealed terrifying truths. CR90 levels in children's bones were skyrocketing, leading to warnings about contaminated milk and long-term health risks like leukemia. A 1950s protest poster highlighting the menace of nuclear testing to children, echoing the fears Project Sunshine uncovered. Large, but at what price? Families were left with incomplete burials, haunted by unanswered questions. If stories like these, where power tramples on the most vulnerable, leave you reeling and hungry for more uncovers of history's shadows, consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, Behind the Veil Truths, where we dive deeper into these forgotten scandals every week. The international web. Allies in the Shadows Project. Sunshine wasn't just American hubris, it was a clandestine alliance. The UK Atomic Energy Authority exchanged letters with the AEC, comparing CR-90 and British stillborn ribs to those in San Francisco. Belgium joined for environmental studies, tracing fallout through cows and soil. Canada, South America, and even a Navy unit in Cairo were tapped for samples. Deception was key. Researchers skirted the law by using intermediaries. As Clinton's 1995 investigation later condemned, the project expanded to include tests on animals and food chains. But the human element remained its darkest core, the unmasking, from secrecy to scandal. The veil lifted in 1956 when the project went public, but the full horror emerged in 1995 with declassified files from the Advisory Committee on Human Radiation Experiments. By 2001, outrage exploded in the UK and Australia, sparking inquiries and demands for answers. Libby's body snatching, quote, became infamous, a stark reminder of how far patriotism could twist ethics. Cover of a book exposing the untold story of Project Sunshine, capturing the scandal in print. Small, the program fizzled in the 1970s amid growing anti-nuclear sentiment, but not before leaving a legacy of violated trust. Echoes in the fallout, what lingers today. Project Sunshine didn't just measure radiation, it exposed the radioactive rot at the heart of unchecked power. Today, as we grapple with nuclear legacies from Chernobyl to Fukushima, questions remain. How many more Sunshine projects lurk in classified vaults? What other vulnerabilities, our children, our dead, have been exploited in the name of security? If this dive into the atomic abyss has you questioning everything, hit subscribe on Behind the Veil Truths. We've got more declassified nightmares waiting, from psychic spies to lost nukes. Don't miss the next revelation. Who knows what shadows we'll uncover next?